nudge. Reverend Vera.
Good morning, everybody. Shall we stand up and do some jumping jacks to warm up? Remember in school we'd have to, yeah, I think we just about need that. All right. Well, it looks like everybody's kind of nice and warm with all the extra clothing we found around here, thank goodness. So let's get comfortable, take a deep breath, and release as we start with an opening treatment. Let us know that there is one life, one infinite presence expressing through all creation. It is a quiet whisper within. The loving guidance that moves me toward greater good. The present is wisdom, peace, and divine intelligence unfolding perfectly through all things. I know this presence lives in me and speaks to me in a gentle way. Every nudge I feel is spirit inviting me to grow, to trust, and to step more fully into my true self. I release resistance and welcome change with grace. I am guided, supported, and sustained by the one power that knows my path even when I do not. Gratitude fills me as I walk toward faith, listening to life's gentle nudges with an opening and willing heart. As I know this to be true for me, I also know it to be true for each and everyone here today. And so it is. Have you ever had that feeling that the little whisper inside that says something's shifting? Pay attention. Maybe it comes from a soft uneasiness, a sense that the life that you've been living doesn't quite fit anymore. Or maybe Spirit has been tapping you on the shoulder, trying to get your attention, gently at first, and then if anybody is like me, Spirit sometimes trades in a gentle nudge with a full-on cosmic shove. You know, it's like, pay attention, I'm here. And how many times do we resist that nudge? Many, many times. You know those moments when everything that used to feel secure starts to wobble? A relationship changes, a job ends, old dreams fade away, and suddenly we find ourselves standing on the edge of something unknown. We may not have planned for this nudge, because we usually never plan for that to come through, but here it is, life's gentle nudge, calling us to change. Ernest Holmes reminds us, life is forever whispering to us as we are greater than we know. Now, Spirit, we call it divine intelligence, the one life, the infinite presence, some of us call it God, has a way of speaking to us that is always loving, but not always convenient. At first, it offers a whisper. It could be a restlessness, a desire for something more authentic, a feeling that there's another layer of us waiting to be born. We might ignore it for a while. We might tell ourselves, oh, I'm just tired. Must have been something I ate. And maybe next year I'll deal with that. But Spirit is patient, infinitely patient, and quite persistent. If we don't listen to the whisper, Spirit just raises the volume. And if it doesn't work well, Spirit might just send in a marching band. I remember once when somebody said to me, first you get the feather, then you get the brick, and then the bulldozer comes along. The feather is your gentle nudge. The brick is when you can't ignore it anymore, so it's right in your face. That nudge is right in your face. And then the bulldozer, well, that's when the universe says, bless your heart. You must really want to grow. Antonia France said, all changes, even the most longed for, have their melancholy. For what they leave behind us is a part of ourselves. We must die to one life before we can enter into another. You see, the funny thing about change is that even when it's good for us, even when it's Spirit-led, it can still feel uncomfortable. Because change invites us to loosen our grip on what we know. It invites us to release the familiar and step into a space where we can't yet see the outcome. And that's the hard part for us human. The part that likes routine, likes control, and knows what goes on. We always want to know what's happening next, but ultimately that never really happens, does it? We just think that is, but that's our control. But the soul loves change. Believe it or not, we do love change. The human part of us, the ego, says no, but the soul says yes. Because the soul knows that change is how it grows. It's how we become more fully who we truly are. Ernest Holmes says the divine urge within us is forever pushing us forward to greater expression. That divine urge, the inner nudge, is spirit saying, you're ready for more life. You're ready for expansion. You're ready to remember who you really are. So while our human self may say, oh no, not again, and I'm quite sure many of us had that when there's a change coming up and we know it's like, oh, here we go again. Our spiritual self is quietly whispering, yes, this way, keep going. As we dig in our heels and grab hold of whatever's available because we are in resistance to change. And I know for me, when I was taking science mind classes with Reverend Doug, and he would say, Vera, you're always digging in your heels. Just let go. Because I would always question everything. And he said, just let it be. He said, but no, not me. I had to hang on and make sure, because I wanted to be in control over my life was going. Little did I know, I didn't really have control. So life's gentle nudge doesn't always come from within. Sometimes it arrives from another person. Could be a comment from a friend that says, I see more in you than you see in yourself. It could be a line in a book or a sign, you know, those poster signs that when you're driving down the highway, it could be something that was said on a sign. Maybe a line in a song. Could be a moment in nature. Or someone could say, are you really truly happy in what you're doing? In Isaiah 30:21, whether you turn to the right or to the left, your ears will hear a voice behind you saying, this is the way, walk in it. Spirit uses everything, every person, every experience to guide our steps. Have you ever had something fall apart in your life only to realize later it fell apart because something better was coming your way? When old structures fall away, it's not punishment, it's an invitation, a nudge towards a new thought, a new belief, and a new possibility. Now, I'll be honest, I don't always surrender gracefully. Sometimes I go kicking and muttering all the way. I once read that surrender is not giving up, it's giving in, going into the greater flow of life. Now, that sentence really spoke to me because nobody wants to surrender. You know, because surrender seems like you're giving away, you know, and stuff like giving up, but it's not. It's giving in to that spiritual nudge. Surrender is not about losing control. It's about realizing that control was never the goal. The goal is alignment. Ernest Holmes reminds us the mind that refuses to change has closed the door on the greater possibility. So when we cling to old comfort zones, the loving encourages us to move anyway. When Spirit calls us to change, it's not because we've done something wrong, it's because something right is happening in our lives. Sometimes it means a new direction, sometimes a new awareness, sometimes a deeper healing, but always, always, it is our awakening. So how do we recognize these divine nudges when they come? They rarely come with the flashing neon signs or fireworks or thunder and lightning. That's the ego's way of resisting change. Nudges come as feelings, as inner knowings, as synchronicities that catch our attention. Maybe we keep hearing the same message in different ways, through a song lyric, a book title, a conversation with a friend. Maybe something inside just won't settle. That's a tug in the heart that says, there's more to you than you think there is. And a lot of times we shut down who we really are because of fear. We're fear of stepping into who we really are. We're afraid to step into those nudges because what will people think? I've changed. Will they like me? So that's a big fear for a lot of people, is the change of who you are when you listen to those nudges. Change a job, change a relationship, move to a different city, people will either support you, but a lot will say, why do you want to move there? There's nothing there. You're leaving everything behind. But listen to those nudges anyway, because they're there for a reason. Spirit is always speaking. The question is, are you listening? That's when our spiritual practice comes in, when we do prayer or spiritual mind treatment, we meditate, or we just sit in stillness. These are the ways that we tune into our inner receiver of the right frequency. Because Spirit doesn't shout. Spirit whispers gently. And we hear those whispers better in the quiet time, in the stillness. Psalms 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." Change is not always about doing something new right away. Sometimes the nudge is simply a pause. There's a sacredness in the in-between, the moment from one chapter ends and before the next chapter begins. And it is uncomfortable, but it's also holy ground. That's when Jesus went into the wilderness. That was going into holy ground. There was a big change for him. He went in there and he meditated, and the information he brought back was really amazing for him at that time. And that's what we do when we go into holy ground. We take that pause. We take that moment to listen to that gentle nudge. And do we always listen right away? No, we don't. We stop. And sometimes we have to really think, okay, do I really want to do this? But then the nudge keeps going on. And then I always do a pro and con. I write down on a piece of paper. I split it up and say, okay, this is what I'm doing. What's my pros and what's my con? And very seldom I ever not do what the nudge does, because I end up with the bulldozer in the end if I don't do it. It's happened many times. So the reason for uncertainty, if you're going through anything right now, if life feels that it's rearranging itself around you, just take heart. You're not lost. You're simply being prepared. Spirit is rearranging the furniture of your life to make room for something greater. And sometimes that means a bit of spiritual feng shui, out with the old patterns and in with the fresh air of possibility. Spirit also has a wonderful sense of humor. You can almost hear the universe chuckling when we say, "I'll never move there," or "I could never do that. Who do I think I am?" But that's often exactly where we're headed. For me, it was like when a couple of years ago, I was living in my van and stuff, and my sister would say to me, "Vera, you should really spend your life with somebody. You're too young to be by yourself and everything else." I said, "Nah, no, that's never going to happen. Never going to happen." And I remember in science mind class when Reverend Doug says, "Never say never." And it's like, but why? Because when you say never, the universe is going to give you exactly what you think is never going to happen. And it's happened time and time again. So anyway, along I go, and I was having, 2 years ago, I was having lunch with my sister and brother-in-law. And they said, you should really, go on online dating and meet some people and stuff like that. And I said, "Nah, I ain't going to do that. Not going to do that." Well, guess what? I did. Yeah. And then I end up meeting my fellow that I'm with right now, Lauren, and it's amazing. It was amazing. I never expected it to happen that way or to come out that way, but it was absolutely amazing. And then, of course, he's in Red Deer. I'm living in Calgary. So I thought, well, that's fine, because I'm living in my van. I can travel and do whatever I want. And next thing I know, he asks me to move to Red Deer in with him. Oh, no, I'm not doing that. Not doing that. Well, guess what? I did. And because of that, and because I listened to that nudge, which was my sister, and I didn't wait for the bulldozer, and here I am, back in Red Deer. And so it's like the circle is complete. I was born here many years ago, came here and took my studies with Reverend Doug in Science of Mind, and then left, and here I'm back again. And it's absolutely amazing. It's amazing. So when Spirit says, and has a sense of humor, and when you say, "No, it'll never happen," look in the mirror, because guess what? It's going to happen. And it's like Spirit's also saying, "Oh, really? Let's see about that, shall we?" And that's exactly what happened with me. We'll see about that. But humor is part of grace. It keeps our hearts soft. It reminds us not to take our journeys too seriously. It's about play. It's about discovery. It's about the divine exploring itself through us. One brave, beautiful, messy miraculous moment at a time. Every nudge asks for a response. There comes a moment when we can no longer just think about change, we must embody it. And that we can feel like standing on the edge of a cliff. We look out and say, Spirit, I'm willing, but can you give me a parachute first? And Spirit says, trust me, your wings will unfold on the way down. Taking that leap isn't about having no fear. It's about feeling the fear and moving anyway, because something deeper is calling. That faith is action. That's conscious evolution. And that's where the magic lives, in that curious step into the unknown, where we find the unknown isn't empty after all. It's filled with a divine love waiting to catch us. Science of Mind reminds us, trust the presence that knows the way even when the way is not yet revealed. Another one is a story that I'd like to share is when I lived in the Maritimes, and there was a pastor there that I used to go and see. And he said to me one time, we were sitting there, because I said, I think I'm moving back to Calgary. And he said, yeah. He said, you will be moving, and you'll be working with the homeless population. And I said, that's not going to happen. You know, there's no way that's going to happen. Because at that time, when I was living in New Brunswick, I worked at a greenhouse, and I was also in construction. We had our own construction company. So I was planning on coming back to Calgary and restarting my construction company back here. Well, needless to say, I did move back, and I did start working for the construction company, and it was great. But then after a while, it just got really, really crazy. We were so busy, we were short-staffed, and starting to burn out. So I quit my job. Just quit my job, and for 3 months, I didn't work, and of course, I'm paying money out, and money's starting to get short because nothing's filling up the bank account. So I decided, well, I better look online to see if I can find a job, and there was this one job. It was part-time, and it was working evenings, and I'm a night owl. And so when I was looking at it, it was working at a homeless shelter. And I thought, this is perfect, because I can work 12-hour shifts, work 3 days a week, and I got 4 days off. I said, this can't be any better than I planned it myself. So I applied for the job. Well, needless to say, it ended up becoming a full-time job. But it was such a great job. And I had to phone the pastor and say, you were right. And he said, Spirit never lies. God's guiding you. He said, that's your new ministry. And it became, for 10 years, that was my ministry in Calgary, along with my other part that I was doing as New Thought ministry as well. So it was a combination of both. Now, I never planned that to happen. That was not what was going to happen. I was going to work in construction. I was going to build. I was going to travel. But Spirit had something else in mind for me. So think about the times in your own life when Spirit nudged you to move, to leave a job, to forgive someone, to speak your truth. At that time, it might have seemed inconvenient and even scary. But looking back, you can see it opened a door. How it led to growth, healing, and a deeper love. Had I not decided to take that job with the mustard seed, I could have went into the job as a thing. I wouldn't have grown as much as I have. I wouldn't have understood who I was in that becoming. And like I said, on November 8th, the two biggest things I learned was forgiveness and compassion. And had I not been there and sat beside those homeless people, I may have gotten those wonderful gifts, but it might have taken a lot longer. One of the most profound truths I've learned is this: Spirit will never take something from us without giving us something greater in return. And I'm going to repeat that because it's so true. Spirit will never take something from us without giving us something greater in return. But we cannot receive the greater gift if our hands are still tightly clinging to the old one, to the old ways. Life's gentle nudge is an invitation to live more fully, to love more deeply, and to trust more completely. It's Spirit's way of saying, you're ready to remember who you truly are, ready to let your light expand. Sometimes that means stepping into a new chapter. Sometimes it means seeing the current one with new eyes. Either way, change is not here to scare us. It's here to awaken us. So the next time you feel the inner stirring, that whisper that says, it's time, try saying yes just a little sooner. Say yes with curiosity. Say yes with faith, with humor and grace. Because every yes to change is really a yes to life itself. And when you say yes, the whole world and universe moves to support you. Ernest Holmes reminds us that the universe holds nothing against us. It ever waits to flow through us as peace, power, and joy. Life is nudging you towards your next chapter. You don't have to rush it. You don't have to force it. Just listen and lean in. And as we move into this week, notice the little nudges. Notice the whispers. And maybe, just maybe, you say yes before you get the brick or before the bulldozer arrives at your door. Inside your program, you'll find a poem there with Mother Teresa, and it's called Life Is. So let's read these words together. Life is an opportunity, benefit from it. Life is beauty, admit it. Life is bliss, taste it. Life is a dream, realize it. Life is a challenge, meet it. Life is a duty, compete it. Life is a game, play it. Life is a promise, fulfill it. Life is sorrow, overcome it. Life is a song, sing it. Life is a struggle, accept it. Life is a tragedy, comfort it. Life is an adventure, dare it. Life is luck, make it. Life is too precious, do not destroy it. Life is life, fight for it. And together we say, and so it is.